Hi, I'm Sifu Adam, and today I just wanted to talk a little bit about my altar. As you can see, I have Nike here, and I have this rock that somebody gave me, one of my students, and for me that's representing the earth. And I have this dragon that another one of my students gave me, actually the same student, and the reason why I got the idea of putting them all together like that is because my father had a keychain when when I was little, and it had a picture of Gunyam, and she had the blue dragon next to her, and so you could argue that Nike's not the same as Gunyam, but I would argue that any goddess thought of poetically is the same. It's the same thing, whether it's Mary or Gunyam, whatever. It's the same for me. Or in any case, in terms of my statue. And Gunyam, even though she's the goddess of mercy, in the Monkey King, which is just a novel, but in the Monkey King, she's the one that gets the sword that cuts off the Monkey King's head. He grows a new one, but she's the one that gives them the sword. I guess what I'm going to talk about today is why don't I have a statue of Kwan Gung for my little altar here. So I still bow to Kwan Gung when I go into the Kung Fu school, and some people call Kwan Gung the god of war. He's not like Mars or Ares exactly. And he's not like, say, Saint James, who's a saint of war. He was a person that lived and died, and he's supposed to be the embodiment of justice, loyalty, and he was a general, so a lot of warriors bow to him, but regular businessmen bow to him too, which makes sense because he was a small business owner. Kwan Gung, before he became a general, was selling like green beans, and that's where he meets like Zhang Fei, another general, is a butcher. He's selling like meats, and so they get into it. They sort of get into a fight, and Lao Bei, who's related to the royal family, stops them from fighting. Eventually, these three get together, make the peach oath, and that's how that's how the legend is started. And then they take over a third of the of China, or you could argue they borrow a third and just don't give it back. And Lao Bei has a claim to it because he's related to the royal family. So why don't I have that in my house? Well, most people don't have Kwan Gung in their house. Well, some people do have Kwan Gung in their house, but usually people have Gunyam or Tode Gong. And basically, the only reason why I even bow to Kwan Gung is because I do Kung Fu. It's not like I grew up bowing to Kwan Gung. As a kid, we had Gunyam and like Fat Siu, which is like a fat laughing Buddha, in the house, and also a picture of my grandmother. And so we had a little altar to that. And then when my dad died, the ashes for that, which is supposedly against the rules. You're not supposed to have the ashes right there. You're supposed to bury them. But I was, on my mother's side, I was also baptized Catholic. I didn't do, even though I didn't consider myself Catholic for the longest time, I guess now, sure, whatever, I'll do the Catholic thing. And I consider myself a Christian, so why am I bowing to false gods? I don't really see it that way. I see it all religion as just like, all religion, and even like stories, myths, even new myths like Elmo or the Hulk or whatever, it's all the same. Not to say it's not real, it's just not, if you want reality and truth, you go for science, right? And if you think about how long we've been doing science, you go, like, in the 1700s, there was a French physicist, I don't know, I'm not a scientist, but there's a French physicist who was already talking about black holes. 1700s! I mean, you gotta I learned that in school, but I sort of just forgot it or whatever. And you look at that and you're like, why? It's not that I don't put emphasis on religion, but you have to think scientifically first. Science first, and you have to be skeptical first, and then you take these other notions and ideas of spirituality. I would say you take spirituality is more important, is very important for me, but you still got to always have that scientific, rational, atheistic part of your psyche right there in your mind. Okay, I've talked a lot already today about this, but I'm just introducing my altar. It's not a traditional Chinese altar. Why isn't it a traditional Chinese altar? I guess I'll talk about that next time.